All right, welcome to today's webinar. So super excited to dive into it. Today we're going to talk about how AI is changing home improvements forever. I have Dave Evans here with Dabella here who's joined me today. I'm Sean Conners, CEO and founder of Contractor Appointments. We do performance lead generation within the home improvement space. And Dave, if you mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your experience, and just chat a little bit briefly, just how you've been in the industry here too. Love to hear that.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on, Sean. I'm super excited. Love following the whole AI trend. So I've been at Dabella. I started in 2013 and started in online marketing here. I left in 2018, came back right before COVID, and we had 18 offices when I came back. Now in 2018, now we have 42 offices. As of this coming Monday, we're opening our 42nd office. So pretty excited about that. And just love marketing, performance marketing, leads and the vendors, and just love where the space is headed.
Yeah, well, I think it's just so cool. I think we worked together for the last couple years now, and just to see the growth that you guys have had. And I think one thing that always strikes me is just the adaptation to the technologies that are out there. Obviously, what spurred on this conversation is like 2 months ago, we're on a phone call and we just started just riffing on all the AI tools that are out there. And Dave just kind of spits out, he's using and trying on way more than I ever have even imagined here. So I thought Dave would be a perfect person to have on to chat through what's even out there. So Dave, what's your role in the company at Dabella, to kind of give us some context and just kind of paint the picture here as well?
Yeah, thanks. So I'm the partnership manager. So my main role here, I manage a team of 6 people, and we deal with inbound leads. I look for new vendors. I also look for new technologies. So if we're currently using like an NPS tool or a social tool, I'll check to see if there's newer tools out there that might accomplish more, maybe at a lower cost. And I help in those transitions as well. So looking for new technologies. And that's really where AI comes into play. So we were talking about LeadsCon, which is a huge leads show, and there were a lot of vendors that are talking about AI. What really stuck out to me was that one of the owners said AI encompasses a lot of stuff. So it's not just the conversational AI. There's stuff that happens in the background that's little things that AI is doing that you may not even see, where you don't really chat to it, but it's making those decisions. So it is moving and growing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, we were just talking. It's really going to touch every single tool that's out there as well. Just give it some time. So I think I'll dive into some questions again. Feel free to jump in with your own questions that you may have for Dave, or just to chat about here too for everyone. But some questions I had for you, Dave, was just like, how do you see AI just a utilization within home improvements as a whole? This is a really big, broad piece. So maybe just some big areas that you see that that AI is going to just infiltrate home improvements as a whole.
Well, there's so many levels that I deal with, especially looking at the sales funnel. I'll just throw it out there, the leads funnel. So you have people at the very top of the funnel that may not know about what they need. And then you have people at the bottom of the funnel that are like, I'm ready to buy right now, and so you gotta think at each part of that funnel, how can we get involved, and how can we get out there, and how can we get AI involved to make those touch points easier and automated in a lot of ways. So instead of us, building out a full like post-sale drip campaign, you know what I mean, and having to tell it what to do versus what product and stuff like that, the AI can just do it for us, and you just have to go in and make sure it all makes sense and QA it. But little stuff like that can really save hours, days, of time of being able to create these type of marketing campaigns, and that's just a really kind of a minutia of all this stuff. Like what you said, Sean, lead acquisition, even trying to find partners for your company, being able to go out and do the research on those companies, and in a moment's notice, what are the problems they've had as an organization in the past, or what are the wins they've had, and that'll help you when you go in and talk to them to be able to understand that organization and hopefully win with them, because you want partners that you can trust and work together with. So the AI can help you even do that. Go and find out and research stuff. So that's just another little small thing. I'm trying to figure out all ways to integrate this. Even some tools like, for example, our lead acquisition software really isn't AI friendly right now. So if I want to add a new vendor, let's say, I have to go in and tell it the vendor's name, tell it, what different attributes I want to be filtered and stuff like that. In the future, it'll just, I'll open it up and it'll say, hey, Dave, how's it going? Looks like you want to maybe add a new vendor. Oh, it looks like you had these 12 things from your last vendor. Let's go ahead and add those automatically. How's that look? Okay, great. Here's your onboarding docs. And it gives it to me and I can just hand it to them. Process it would take me usually around 20 minutes to a half hour, could take a few seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we talked about that here too, is that if the tools aren't software as a service, if they're not currently using AI, like they're going to either be replaced or they're going to have to add it. Like there's really two options right now. So I think let's even start like at the top of the funnel. Like paint that beautiful picture of just kind of talking through, like in that top of the funnel, like trying to get people's attention in a crowded marketplace already. We talked about that on many different webinars, that you need to use differentiation within the home improvement space to differentiate yourself from one company to another. Using technology like AI can help you write more content to get people to visit your website. So like there's content tools out there that literally you give it a little blurb of, write me a post about the best roofing, materials that are can be used in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Like that specific, and it's gonna like pop out an article, a 2,000 word article for you, and then you might have to do some manual like corrections on that AI, but like that's a good start. Like that brain fog, like not many people can start wake up one morning and like come up with 2,000 words to like sit here and draft a paper. Like that's crazy if you're not using tools like that just to get leads in the door. And then you can always go in there and correct it or improve upon it or actually correct prices. So yeah, just even tools like that to get people in the door.
And one step further, we even have SEO tools that'll tell us, what markets we're in, because we're in, 18 states right now. Like what markets are we in? What SEO keywords are maybe not being utilized that we can write articles around. It'll help us write those articles and then we publish them. And this all happens within an hour, you know?
Yeah, really. Even knowing which articles are being searched and knowing what questions need to be answered, and then asking, the AI tools to be able to help at least start writing those articles. I think there's, the content revolution that would be out there is just there's so many people weren't able to write content or keep up on a blog or anything like that, and now they can. The second piece of that, just even thinking about it from a top of the funnel perspective, is do you mention like drip email campaigns and drip campaigns to those top of the funnel leads? They're not ready to buy yet, but like how many companies you talk to that's just like they try to reach out to a homeowner and they're not ready yet, and then it just goes radio silent between that point and when that homeowner's actually ready to buy in that cycle. And that just might be time over time, that if you can create email copy, again, using like an AI generator to be able to start putting that content out there, at least you're able to start keeping touch points and curating emails, because it's so hard to come up with copy today.
You can even look at their socials if you have their email address information and scrape, if you will, all of their likes and interests, and then use AI to help write your campaigns around that. So they really like Family Guy, maybe send them some Family Guy's ads saying, hey, buy a roof, you love Family Guy, something like that. I'm just giving you an example, but
it's like getting creepy already. I remember the articles, even like 5 years ago, talking about how companies were like using predictive analytics to like determine if someone's going to be likelihood of their like being pregnant, and they'd send them ads like
Target.
Target would go
a huge Target thing.
Yeah, so it's just insane. I can't imagine we have a lot of the same tools that I think that now at this disposal, and now that I think these big companies had, previously. which is pretty cool.
That's one of the ways that we've won. I'm going to say, before we go into an area, we'll reach out to our vendors and say, hey, what are some demographics of the areas we're thinking about going into? What potential competition do we have in those areas? Once we get that data back, then we start making decisions like, hey, should we move there? And then we start looking at the internet, and we look at ways that are there more, what are the demographic trends there? AI could do this all pretty much instantaneously. So stuff like that really excites me, because right now it's a pretty manual process.
Yeah, well, just even knowing who your audience is. There's a couple vendors out there currently, but like to even see of every person who's purchased from you in the past, like what are their demographic information, so you can get more people like them. Like that alone tells a huge story. So I'm curious how you think, how is AI going to impact like just how companies market across the board? So one is obviously like differentiation. You can like just put more content out there today, but what other ways do you think that companies will use AI for more than even just content generation?
Well, I think for a lot of stuff. So here's an example for brand. You look at roofing companies, not to throw everybody under the bus here, but most roofing companies have a blue logo, and they use a house looking logo. So if you look a lot of the home improvement companies, you'll see a lot of blue houses, right?
Yep.
We're obviously a green butterfly, a little different, but that we lead, care, grow, and that's part of our company. And that was a differentiator for us, was to get out of that. So AI didn't necessarily help us with that, because it's been years now. But in the future, it will be stuff like that. So they'll look at what color schemes will catch the eye, what isn't being used, and statistically it'll let you know that, hey, this might be the best brand image for you, and it could really even go that low, that small of a level.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that, I think I've said this so many times that I think the home, and I think we feel it in home improvement, is that it's really hard to differentiate because everyone kind of sells the same. Where roof is a roof, we're all selling the same product. So your brand and your company needs to kind of step above and aside in some other way to differentiate yourself. So even like the color schemes, the brand recognition, stuff like that. In most markets, they don't have, like, roofing is one of the least brand recognized, like in most markets. So if you can find somebody, find a way to make your brand really well known, you get just market share just because you become a brand that, becomes well known in that market. So, curious how you see there's obviously other technologies that are out here. Even a couple of questions that have come in here. What ways do you see AI being used in this like sales piece of it? So we've talked about it in a couple other webinars, but like, how do you see, just from marketing and into sales, how do you see that at actually helping or changing the way that sales is done in the future?
So that's a great one. And I know, I do know that there's a couple companies that do this kind of a thing. One way is that they look at all the, I'll just give a real quick example. They look at all, let's say 30 types of, they go by personality types, or like personas. So they'll look at your whole customer database, let's say 100 million people, and they'll say, okay, well, all your people fit into about 60 different types of personas or whatever. And then they'll look at your sales people and say, hey, the salespeople look like they fit into these type of personas. We know that these type of personas work well together, and that AI will actually help you set up the appointments you're going to be running. And they have, various levels of success with that. So, that's where I think potentially stuff will be heading. I do know that a lot of the lead acquisition software, even that we use, when the leads come in, they get enriched. So for, a penny, let's say, per lead, it'll add demographic, home information, pretty much everything but an email. It'll give you all kinds of information. Are they homeowners, renters, have a family, credit scores, all that kind of stuff. It'll enrich the data. I can only imagine in the future that all this stuff will just be so automated through maybe a Salesforce or, whatever that looks like. But it's coming. It's getting close now, but it's still, I think it's still the Wild West. It's still not fully there, so.
Well, sometimes I feel like there's so much, like it gets so wide. Like there's just so many tools out there, and they have to kind of like consolidate into like functional tools that can be stacked and put together and for multiple uses, right? And I think that, I think with sales, I think just like you said, is there's like the clear, like, A plus B, is just automatically going to go route it. And there's like the sales routing systems out there. But I've also seen like AI in the sales piece portion of it, like from like on your, even on your website, like chatbots that are actually done by AI that are actually going into some pretty darn good detail, of the sales presentation and process and like selling a company. Like, have you tried any of those stuff from a chatbot side of things as of yet?
Yeah, so we use Drift here as a company, and it's not full AI, it's more of playbooks. So we basically program it to do what we want, but it's pretty close. And I can only imagine that they're going to be ramping it up. I mean, obviously, with all the changes that are happening, it is really good technology. The only drawbacks that I see is people don't like to wait. Sometimes there's like a 3 or 4 minute delay maybe between the chatbot and who maybe somebody got up to get a cup of coffee or something. So people don't like that delay. So then they'll end up calling. And really hopefully the role of a chatbot is to lessen the amount of calls coming in. I mean, not leads, but I mean like, complaints or customer service issues. Hopefully that can be routed through the chatbot and not have to call the call center because, you're taking resources there. So that's something that has always been on our mind. Well, why we wanted Drift, for example, was because it helps lessen that load of all the calls,
Yeah.
And also, if we see another good thing is kind of I say, like, there's an issue that pops up, people can alert us through Drift sometimes even before we catch it. So, if an issue happens. So an example might be we had somebody that was had a flat tire and was having a problem driving down the road, and we actually got Drift messages from people that were following him saying, hey, one of your drivers is having a problem. You're able to reach out to him and he got it fixed. It was on his trailer, he didn't even know.
Yeah.
So just little stuff like that.
Well, I think in today's day and age, if you can use, again, you're just leveraging technology it's not in replacement of a person that can still get on a phone call or anything like that. You're trying to use this to like maximize their effort and their energy, right? So I think those like chatbots on the website, like I can get so frustrated with them for the exact reason that you talked about. It's like, I don't want to sit here and get like 4 questions in, and then all of a sudden it's like, what's your email and phone number? Because I need to know all your information before I tell you anything of value. But also, like, you're having to wait. It's like, well, I'm onto something else if I have to wait and sit on the site for any period of time. But I think that like this time is coming where the speed of those things and the answers to our questions are just like, if we've got a sales script sitting over here and like a Word doc, it's like the AI can read that just as well as any person could and be able to kind of pull that stuff in. So I'm curious how it will affect like people's demand for access to information in that, in both the information gathering, but also like in that sales aspect of it too, which normally that's like kind of held on to by the salesperson. So,
well, one other thing I thought of, which is true for us too, and even large organizations, sometimes that connection from end user going through Drift to my call center gets disconnected. Yeah. And then when they finally do get into the call center, they have to repeat all that same data over again. With an AI type tool or something that's more end to end, we wouldn't have those losses or those disconnects. So even small stuff like that really aggravates the customer, we don't really know of as the company because maybe we weren't a part of that disconnect. You know what I mean? So yeah, totally. Hopefully we're fixing their disgruntledness too, or their anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and on that note of kind of call center side of things, like there's a bunch of different tools out there now for like just AI in adding it to the call center. So there's so many, like I've seen some like stuff out there like that. It's like not a human voice, and you're just having a conversation with an AI kind of voice, all that kind of stuff. And I think there's like a whole legality portion of it that I don't necessarily know all the ramifications of all that, especially for an outbound phone call. But have you guys added any AI tools or any thoughts on that side of things from like adding AI to make call center performance even better.
Well, I do know that we're a Salesforce shop. So, as far as that goes, we use, AWS. So, a lot of that cloud solution, it's knocking on the door. You know what I mean? So I think there was 4 products they talked about that do exactly what you said, all from Salesforce. So it's definitely coming. I don't necessarily know if we've implemented anything today as it stands, but it is all coming. It's pretty exciting.
Well, I know there's a couple tools out there that will have like it, regardless of the dialer or the call system you use, it will like listen to your voice and make sure that you're like checking boxes of like asking for both homeowners to be home, that you verify that they can make sure that they have them, you're just checking the boxes that you need every call center representative to answer when they're doing an initial set, or a whole other piece there.
I'll take it back. So we do use CallRail. We have about 1,000 CallRail numbers. In those CallRail numbers, there is AI that listens to every single call, and it will flag on certain keywords, and it will alert us to that. So there is some AI doing that. I was thinking Salesforce realm, but even before that, we're catching it through the call center. So yes, and that's right through CallRail. So it's today technology right now.
Well, yeah, transcriptions, all that kind of stuff, turning that stuff into a transcribed phone call to be able to analyze it, like is pretty crazy from an outbound call center standpoint or inbound calls. I think are huge side of things. So adding a couple different things. One person asked, we'll send out a couple different the companies that we share in the conversation. So I've already got a list of a bunch of them that we've already talked about. So yes, we'll send out a list, and we'll actually include it in like the replay link here with a couple of the different just brands and companies that are out there. So a couple of things that like Shane asked here, what AI lead generation options do you use and combine with any AI software on that side of things? So yeah, anything, I guess it would be like AI lead generation tools, and there's different ones out there to like go scrape stuff from like a lead generation piece of it. Anything like in the initial lead generation piece of it that you're using AI tools for, or any recommendations there?
I'm just content generation right now. As far as creating some of the content for those articles, yes. And then we did have a tool which went away. It actually got bought a couple months ago and went away, but it was a newsletter program. And this is really cool. It would go out, and it was called Tidings. Again, it got bought by another company, but this is an example. It would go out and it would scrape our social and our blog, and then it would create a newsletter. And we shipped that to all of our previous customers, about 20,000 people a month. And when we add every month, more previous customers. But that was a real simple tool, again. And I'm sorry it went away. We had to find a workaround, but it was really great. And literally within 5 minutes, you would have a newsletter created off of your own content. It was just ready to go. And then click send, go through SendGrid, no problem.
I think it's always surprising how like you guys do so much with a smaller team. And I think using tools like this, like very few companies, like you don't have the time or energy to create blog posts, to be able to put out social media posts. Like there's tools for that can actually generate social media posts for you and blog posts, and then put them together to be able to send out. Like that's a huge, like most people don't do email marketing, not because they know it doesn't work or it's not worth it. It's like they don't know where to start, or they don't know how to like curate the content together.
One thing I've always believed in marketing, and AI is even iterating on it, is that you want to have a flywheel. So little things coming together to make a bigger thing, so that these little actions I do every day might seem like a lot in the beginning, but when I'm going a year or two later, it's rolling. My example is, Endgame with, Marvel. They didn't come out in January and say, hey, we're going to release Endgame, the movie, and, it's going to make billions of dollars. I tell you, nobody knew unless you're a comic fan, who Steve Rogers was. And it took him 17 years to create all those movies and then finally make Endgame. You know what I mean? So I think of my marketing the same way. Like, what am I doing today in little iterations to build bigger things? And a lot of these things, maybe it started with a blog. Maybe it started with social posts, but now we're scraping that and creating a newsletter that we're getting sales from and creating more revenue.
Yep, absolutely. One, it's just it's those little consistencies that you can kind of build off of, and then that content you can use to create, other blog posts and stuff like that. I think there's just there's so many pieces there. I'm going through here. Paul Burleson, Paul, I appreciate you being on here. Paul is a whiz in of himself. The conversations I've had with him on AI. But have you looked at like ReloVoice and like some of the voice analytics from a sales perspective of being able to from my understanding, it's literally like you're hitting record on your phone. It's transcribing a sales communication and the sales presentation. And then you're able to do like AI analytics off of it and like coaching off of that, which is like the whole call center side of things, but in like in-home sales for the first time. So have you looked at that at all? Like I'll speak more on that if not.
I have to be honest, I have not. It sounds really cool, though. I know, kind of in the same vein, and you'll get appreciate this. You know about it. I was talking to Sean about this a few weeks ago, and he's like, "Oh, have you checked out Product Hunt? It's an online website that talks about new apps and AI and stuff like that." So I was out there last week, just kind of cruising through it, and I found a new app called MeetGeek, and it'll literally hop into your meetings, record them, and then transcribe them. You get a nice little follow-up after the meeting that's got a little breakdown paragraph and then bullet points, all done by the AI. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, so I bought it the same day for a year. And I've been using it every day. Like, it's amazing to do all my meetings. And but now we're thinking, can we use it for potentially HR things? What about sales? I mean, this could be, so it's exactly what you're talking to. We're doing the same thing. How can we wrap our head around it? Obviously, there might be some legal ramifications. Like if I have a sales recording in an HR situation where it's talking about something, beefy or crazy or whatever, maybe you don't want to record that, or maybe you do, I don't know. But so that's something we've been talking about. So for like my one-on-ones and stuff, I have not used it. I just decided not to. But for all my other meetings with vendors and stuff like that, the vendors actually like it. I get emails back saying, "Wow, this is great. You transcribed the whole thing." And I'm like, "I didn't do it. My bot did." So very, very handy. I can literally hit my email, do a couple keywords, and all my emails pop up that are relevant. And there's my MeetGeek, and it's got a full breakdown. So it's not fully smart. Like, I found some bugs, but it's pretty good. I mean, for where it is. So
it is amazing. Since you actually recommended it. And now our team is all using it on the account management side of things. So you got them hooked on that from the last phone call with Marty. So it is amazing though. Like, and that works with like Zoom. Like we do a lot of Zoom meetings with obviously every one of our customers as well. And as you do meetings all the time, and like it summarizes the call for you, which is amazing. Like, even to like go back, how many times do you just not make notes in your CRM? Of like, what was that last conversation? Holy crap. Like, you can just go back to the whole thing and like dive into the entire, weeds of everything in text format. I think it's just huge. So the name of that app is called MeetGeek.
MeetGeek.ai.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other ones out there like that. I've got another one that I'm looking at my
I was sold like right away. I was like, oh, and when there's 30% off too, I was like, oh, 30%. What's up?
Yep, I've got another one too. I forgot. I've got it hooked up to my Slack and my Zoom that I've been using, but it does the exact same thing. But I found
what's awesome is we're a growing company. So currently we have, I want to say 1,600 employees right now. And we're always hiring more marketers and leaders, just by the way, everybody. So, and we're crushing everywhere. So definitely get your resumes in. We'd love to meet you. But, I think the biggest thing happening and, what's really pushing everybody right now is AI. And it just is so exciting to see everything. And everything we've talked about today has been exciting.
Yeah, it's super cool. So Brandon, you just asked how using like transcribing AI can improve the contact center. Like I think transcribing any audio call or even the sales presentation, I know that there's like you said, there's some legal ramifications that you have to like make sure that the person's aware that it's being recorded. But like I've heard a lot of like people in the in-home sales using ReloVoice and going like, "Hey, I just want to make sure I'm not missing any details. Do you mind if I record this conversation?" And like, that's crazy. You have to transcribe your sales conversations or your call center conversations to know what they did right, what they did wrong, to try to duplicate those efforts. Like, that
So,
is huge.
so what's interesting is we kind of have that technology kind of. So when we ask for a review after the person's been in the home and they don't sell, we usually ask that person for a review. So how do they do in the home? Would you refer us to your friends, your family? You know, we get really good responses from that. That sometimes gives us more in-depth knowledge into what happened in the house than even the manager on duty call, or, you know, whatever happened there.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it'll help in the future as well. You're right, for call flagging, any kind of recordings in CallRail. If we see stuff like, you know, free windows, then we know that, hey, maybe that lead source is really pushing free windows and we need to make a jump on that, you know, and try to fix that. So it does kind of look for keywords like that and score it. And it's nice to have that kind of response.
Well, I think to that point here too, is it like in a call center, you're having hundreds of phone calls every day, and in drop down dispositions, or even a list of 30 different dispositions that a caller's got to do, there's mistakes that happen. And just like, you can't record all the issues that are running into, you know, that conversation to try to improve the experience with one disposition, you know. And I've heard most people getting away from like the notes in their dispositions and all that kind of stuff, because it just gets like, the effort to, you know, that goes into the writing all the notes of every disposition of every phone call. Like, if you can have AI do that for you, that's huge. It just saves so much time and energy.
One other thing it does is it creates word clouds. So if we see words start to bubble up like free windows, we can click on it and it'll show us all the calls that were relevant for that. You know what I mean? Or the same thing is, if the salesperson's in the house, all of a sudden we see John Smith's name popping up in red. We probably got to train John some, because something's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex, you had asked about what are the current limitations of AI in marketing, and what are some potential solutions to overcome it? Yeah, I'll throw that one at you and see what you think.
I think that end-to-end connection is probably the biggest downfall that I see right now. Meaning that, like I said, when the customer messages in and maybe they fill out a 5-step process and then we route them, sometimes that gets disconnected and then finally get connected and have to give those 5 steps again. I think getting that kind of stuff cleared up would help a lot. I think in getting more integration there. I think post-sale till install also is an area where, you know, we do see people cancel, let's say outside of rescission, where those could be handled a little bit better, even by AI. So, you know, we're sending them maybe a guide on, you know, what to expect before your window project, but maybe they're getting a roof and we messed up and we put the window to the roof person. So yep. AI, I'm not saying it would fix that, but maybe it would fix that, you know, and make it a little bit more automated. So stuff like that, I think, would help a lot, just to help build out those campaigns too.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, to kind of second what you're talking about here, I think where I see the downfall of AI right now is like, somebody's going to train it or put it in a box and like tell it to go that direction and like build something or do something or fix a problem. And I think we're still in the wild, wild west of like, maybe this little thing could be helpful. Maybe like what it's doing is it's augmenting and trying to like make us humans just more accomplish more. So if you think about it in like the most useful terms right now, it's like, if you're struggling to create blog posts, use it to start your blog post. Don't let it be your only way you're creating blog posts, because that's not going to work. But it will start creating content for you. If you're not posting on social media, find an app that posts on social media for you. Like, all these tools are out there just to do things like that. You'd hire an assistant or a full-time person just to sit here and like plug away at, and it requires some like that creative piece of it, and it just goes to the web, finds some stuff, and it's like, that's actually pretty good.
It is. I can even say something like, you know, hey, ChatGPT, you know, create me a 10-minute sales training for my group of 6 marketers based off of roofing, and give me 3 underlayment types and how I install it. And it will pump it out in less than a minute. Like it's amazing.
It's
Just
pretty
crazy. And I've done it. I mean, I know it's crazy.
So the funny thing is, when we were talking about AI, I didn't even say this at the beginning. To come up with what we were going to talk about, the talk points today and the title of our presentation were created by ChatGPT. So, like, put it in there, like, write me some interview questions when it comes to how AI interacts with home improvements. So there you go. That's how I created all
Hey,
this.
that's awesome.
So I
Might
had
as well.
So what do you think on just like let's just talk about the future here for a minute and kind of park there. We got a bunch of other questions. I'll get to those in just a second. But last question I have for you kind of is just where do you see AI going in kind of the marketing, sales, production piece, like into the future? I'll let you put on the future hat for a minute and just predict the future.
I'm going to call it the Dabella butterfly bot. So it'll basically know all the people in the United States. It'll know the level of home they're in, what year, when was their siding replaced, when was their roof replaced. It'll tell all of our canvassers what neighborhoods are good to hit right now. Like we know the 2002 houses are good to re-roof right now. So give me all those neighborhoods in this area. Then it'll go ahead and see all the leads, pull them into my acquisition software. I'll be able to enrich them pretty quickly. And then I'll start reaching out to them via email, call, however I can get to them, mail, snail mail, nice picture of their house right on the piece of mail. You know, hey, we're coming for your roof, you know what I mean, or whatever that is. That point, we start, we reach out to them, we offer some bonuses, get them on some kind of a drip campaign. Maybe if they don't know they need a roof, send them some literature about, what are the benefits of energy savings or, stuff like that. Really start ramping them up into the system. All this is done by AI. A couple of guys like me behind the scenes, running the whole show. Once we get the acquisition piece in, hopefully they're ready to go. We, offer them some kind of a giveaway or something, get the salesperson in the house, close them. We're same day close. We've sent the right guy because we know their personality type versus our sales guy. We match them up. We go in and close them. They get a nice little automated message every day, week saying, hey, get ready for a project. It's coming. Here's the date. Here's the installer. All automated. Then, time to install comes. They get nice little messages. Hey, your guy's going to show up in 20 minutes. The installer shows up. We do the install. High fives all around. We get our pay. We leave. Then they start getting into our post completion drip. Hey, how's your windows? We know we just did your roof. How's your siding? How's your bath? And then we try to start getting them right back into the system. So hopefully, they can be a partner of ours through the longevity of their life. And we can just be the one that they go to. Dabella is it. And we're just crushing everywhere. And that's my future. That's why everybody needs to come work for us. We would appreciate it.
No, that's awesome. Well, I love the idea of even that database side of things of going like, we have done so much, like the amount of database architecture that can be done today is like to map out an entire city in a market, like to know whose houses are most likely to need a new roof, and even the databases of who's got a building permit from a roof in the past. Like that stuff it's pretty wild if you can kind of stitch all the pieces together.
Did they own it 7 years ago? Did they own it 10 years ago? Yeah. Did they just buy last year? I mean, these are all different buying signals that people are going to be in, various modes to buy.
Well, it's just like the Target example I shared earlier. Like, how do you predict someone, before they even know that they're pregnant because they bought something else at the store? Like that is like those exactly. Are buying.
The butterfly's coming.
I love that. Some quick questions here. Just what's the website that you talked about where new products are? We talked about that that you're using. We're using Product Hunt. So there's a bunch of other sites out there like that, but it's pretty fun. Every single day there's a whole list of like. And
I like how they group it in AI topics too. It's groups. So it's not like you have to. I mean, you hunt, but it's not like you're. It's a burden. So it's product fun in Product Hunt, not product burden.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they kind of group it into the different categories, and you can look back at a bunch of other ones, but they come up with new ones every day. But a lot of them right now are AI driven. And I've come up with, just like you said, the meeting app that's on there. There's a bunch of free trial stuff on there or cheap,
I did the free trial and I was like, after my first meeting, I'm like, nope, I'm buying it.
Yep.
That's it.
No, it is pretty crazy, the stuff that's on there. Any other newsletter app or bot that you've kind of found a replacer, or you guys just use it, kind of turned into?
So what we did, so we used to use Tidings, like I said, which was awesome. And I'm still hunting for something like that. I love stuff that scrapes because it saves me a lot of time. Hopefully, anyways, now we use Moosend, and that's just for the template itself. So we took our template from Tidings because we loved it, and we recreated it in Moosend. And then we're able to add our own articles really easily. That creates the HTML that I can then post into SendGrid and then send my email.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Kind of a messy flow, but it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you guys using a marketing automation system like Marketing Cloud or things like that right now?
Salesforce. I mean, we have Salesforce currently.
I know, like, what's funny is even like we use Salesforce Marketing Cloud internally and like a couple other tools right now as well. And it's like, even those are pretty slow to adapt into AI, which is like,
it's amazing.
It's like, you think they'd be ahead of this stuff, but
so at LeadsCon, that Leads convention a month and a half ago or whatever, I asked almost every single vendor that I use, I want to say every vendor, what they're doing with AI, and I was shocked that a lot of vendors are not even thinking about it. It's not on a roadmap.
Yep.
So they're like, oh, well, how would you do it? And I told him, he's like, you mind if I tell our developers that? And I'm like, no, I don't care. Get me on your roadmap. So I'm serious too. So it's interesting how forward thinking some of us are. And I'd say that's because we're the early adopters. I don't know how to say that, but I've been using VR at home now for over 7 years. So I feel like I'm an early adopter for technology. And I think like we're the first guys to jump in head first and, hey, let's try stuff. And then maybe we've forgotten a lot of stuff by now that other people are just starting to try. So I love finding people like me that like that kind of stuff, real forward thinking. And I'll just say I was shocked that there weren't a lot more people talking about this. It is the Wild West. I think it's just so new and super exciting. Probably like when Al Gore first made the internet and, everything was brand new. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is still the wild, wild west out there. It is like there's a ton of different apps. And I will say we're still at the stage of where it's like you need to try one app, try it on for size, and then go, nah, that one doesn't fit. And you just need it. There's process of iteration on that side, things that come into it. So Shane had asked just what chatbot you said you use, and it was Drift, correct?
We use Drift. Yep.
Yeah. So
it is more of a playbook. You have to build it out, but AI, like I said, AI comes in lots of different forms. I definitely count that as AI because it's helping us, the way it does. It's really good.
Yeah, we internally use Intercom, which is the exact competitor to Drift, and I know they just came out with and dropped an AI tool within their system. So, and it just like pulls from a product like your help center and stuff like that. So you still have to like train it and all those pieces of it.
We use an NPS software too called ChatMeter. And they have an automated post-response tool now that's by AI. So it'll look at your people leaving online reviews like Google, Facebook, all those online review places, and then it will. I mean, you okay it before it posts it, but it will write responses based off of AI, just doing based off of those keywords. So pretty neat. Like I said, it still is really the Wild West, though.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Chris, you just asked about recommendations on how to get started with AI in business.
Such a large topic. Like
it is.
I'd probably look at your business and see how you're interacting with customers. Maybe a chatbot is what you need. Maybe it's as simple as just more of a non-chat, but kind of a drift where it kind of directs people, something like that. Lots of different ways that could come into play.
Yeah, I think the easiest like low-hanging fruit there too is just in like, as I mentioned it probably a handful of times, it's just like content generation. Nobody's like, I can't tell you how many websites I've been on of contractors that their blog was like 2007 was the last blog that they had, or it's like just you put some content out there, and it just doesn't take a whole lot to do that with these tools today. Alex, you had a really good question here. Something that's been discussed is a lot of how we can balance the benefits of AI with the need to maintain human interaction and empathy in marketing efforts. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think people aren't going to go away. So I think, AI will be doing a lot of tasks that maybe are menial or, easier tasks, but you're still going to have somebody. Um, I think new jobs are going to be created is what I'm trying to say. I don't exactly know what that's going to look like, but there will be more, I guess, compliance type measures in place just to make sure. And that's really what they're talking about right now too, is what are laws potentially involved around this and how do they regulate it? And you've got guys like Elon Musk who are writing letters to OpenAI saying, hey, pause this big stuff for 6 months. I mean, that's pretty alarming, I think. And even senators, congressmen, I'm not going to try to speak to that, but they didn't even understand the internet as it was happening, 20 years ago. So AI is like a whole new realm. You have these guys that like have no idea what's going on. So I think it is really the Wild West, like what we've been saying. And I think there's going to be a ton of regulation coming. Hopefully it doesn't affect us too much, but who's to know? I mean, it's buckle up. It's where we're at.
Yeah, like we said, it's a wild west out there a little bit, and just like you said, it's not to replace the human interaction. And although like the AI, like sometimes I feel like the AI chatbots, if you actually start using them, are pretty darn empathetic.
It's crazy.
Sometimes a heck of a lot more empathetic than the last customer service people I've talked to on the phone.
Well, I think it's like the large language models they're using right now are about 500 billion connections. Our brain has 100 trillion connections. The difference is that they already have all the data they can pull from readily, whereas I'm old, right? So some of my stuff may not come out. So, I mean, I wish the Metallica songs I learned 20 years ago wouldn't come out like they do all the time. You know what I mean? But give me some good stuff to talk about. But not saying Metallica's not good. Don't take that the wrong way. But you know what I mean? So that's really the bonus they have, is that they have these huge repositories of data they can pull from instantaneously. And I got to sit here and think about it for a minute,
Yep. That's huge. So Paul had asked about thoughts on AI kiosks in retail locations or home shows with AI avatar communication. That's like, Paul, I mean, your fellow, like,
that's like future.
Yeah, you are out there with us here too. Just to like, you are at the forefront of all this stuff when it comes to AI.
I saw one, actually, I've seen them where they're like the big kiosk with the face and it kind of like rolls around, and it just doesn't seem legit to me. I don't know. I mean, maybe if I'm in a Star Trek convention, I'm like, oh, that's cool, but it's still, I think it's still a little ways off.
Well, I think some of the stuff, it's like, if you want to differentiate your company, some of the stuff, it's not bad, like to be on the cutting edge of that stuff. Like, how much conversation would that start? You see that company that had that AI kiosk there? It's like, it's kind of creepy. I don't know what to think of that, but you're just talking about them. Like, some conversation's better than no conversation.
Exactly. You got to get it out in the universe.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, absolutely. The MPS software that you mentioned, what was the name of that? Juliet asked here.
Chat Meter. We use Chat Meter.
Perfect. So awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone diving into questions here as well. We are going to for sure be having other webinars in relation to AI. Dave, I would love for you to be a part of those here too. As it progresses, looking at this webinar and doing another one in 6 months, I'm really curious what we're going to come up with, some tools and what fun stuff come out of it. So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. One question, Brad, you had asked about product time. It's actually called producthunt.com. That's one you get to. So, but awesome. Well, Dave, thank you so much for your time today. It's been such an honor just to be able to chat with you today and for you to take time and energy away to meet with all of us. How can we honor you? If people have questions or want to reach out to you at all, I don't know if you want to share contact information.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Just Dave Evans Dabella. You probably find me on LinkedIn. Facebook, I'm Your Computer Guy. You can message me on Facebook too. I'm definitely available. I love talking about this stuff. And and like I said, we're crushing it everywhere. We're a growing company. We're going to move across the whole United States. Please get your resumes in. We'd love more marketers, more sales guys, more everything. We're Dabella. So we lead, we care, we grow, and the world is our oyster. So please come join the fun. We'd love to have you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for your time being with us here today. And just a reminder to everyone, we're here every single Thursday at noon Central Time with another amazing guest. So yeah, Dave, thanks so much for your time. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the week and weekend here.
Thanks, everybody.
See y'all later.